Hey all, so this week is week 9 in teacher training, and I had something pretty fun for us to start working on. I have the whiteboard pulled up here, and I decided to record this session on Zoom because I could really easily get all of these words onto this one whiteboard. And so at first it might seem like, what the heck is this? And it may be a little bit overwhelming, but I will actually have this for you in, paper form essentially, or a PDF as well. But I wanted to go over it with you first because we're going to start doing a lot of sequencing, and you really want to know your support instructions when you're teaching your sequences, which are in here, but also how they transition. And so this is all support instructions and transitions with your words, how you tell people to move their bodies so that they can get from one place to the next. So there's a lot of this. This is kind of the glue that holds your class together. And one of the things you're going to notice is they're very, very direct. They're very few words. Each one is very few words. And there's not a lot of personalization in here. So there's a lot of the or the, very little you or your or yourself. And one of the reasons for that is people are typically very focused on themselves when they're practicing, and that's good. But what we don't want to do as instructors is make it so personal that they think that you are directing your instruction at them in an opinionated or personal way. And so when you use the words you and your a lot, what ends up happening is they imagine, interestingly, that you're actually talking directly to or about them. So not in the good way where they feel included, like, oh, I felt like you were talking to me, but in the not so great way where they feel like they've been isolated. And it is really common. So one of the things that makes you a fabulous instructor is being able to say things in a way that it feels completely relatable, but it's not isolating or individuating. Okay, especially when you're teaching a group. Now, these transitions would be a little bit out of place if you were just teaching a one-on-one. You would be certainly more personalized because you would be teaching just that person, or say a couple of people. If you did a private lesson with, anywhere from 1 to 4 people, it is more personal. So you would be a little more personalized. But I'm going to go over all of these transitions, and my dogs are going crazy. So we have what we call catafoolishness going on here in the background. And so hopefully they will calm down. But they've been quiet all day, of course. All right. So we're going to start here with step up. And so you can imagine, for example, you are in downward facing dog and you say, step up, and then fold in, coming into a forward bend, arch back. If you were reaching up and say a sun salutation, and you would say arch back. These are, that's a support instruction, whereas step up and fold in are transition instructions. So they all kind of intermix with one another. We don't necessarily have to like clearly identify them, but just know that these are very necessary things to say. So look up like a halfway lift, step back, lower down to the floor, being specific. Press up to high push-up plank. Hold high push-up plank. Step back to high push-up plank. Lower down, knees, chest, chin. Lie flat. So that's like an Ashtanga Pranam. Lower your knees, then your chest, then your chin, and then lie flat onto the mat. And that'll help people when they are learning how to lower down. They're not ready for chaturanga yet, but you want to get the form and the upper body straight. So this is a really, really useful instruction, especially when you're teaching beginners. Press up and back, take child's pose, come into down dog, lift the right or the left leg up, place the hands down, step up in between the hands. Notice how it's very specific as to where to go. Step halfway up the mat. So you might be wanting to do, let's say, a dancer's pose, and you are in downward facing dog with your, your classes in down dog, and you're not going to bring them all the way to the top of the mat because you want to have some mat to work with. And so stepping halfway up the mat puts them in the middle of the mat. So you want to be able to just put people into the positions that you want them in on their mats so that it's the best for them. Let's say you're in dancer's pose and you fall forward. Well, you don't want to fall forward into your neighbor, and you don't want to fall forward off of your mat. So that's one of the reasons you would go halfway up your mat. Or say you were going to do something like holding the big toes, and you just wanted to bring them halfway up their mat. They were going to hold there for a while. It's just kind of a nice thing that you can do. You can also realize that the brain works really, really great when you give it other things to do. It kind of makes you more aware when it's not always just the same routine of always going to the same spot. As you start doing advanced sequencing, you may do things like turn people around entirely. You do halfway around the world, you do all the way around the world, where you end up taking your vinyasa facing the other way. And so anything like that is really healthy for the mind and really invigorating to the practice. Plus, it makes people listen to you as opposed to just going through a routine. Okay, walk the hands to the feet. That should say hands to the feet. Walk the feet to the hands and the hands to the feet, and come up in the middle of your mat. These are all things you can start to realize, like, okay, this is really for the brain. This is for people paying attention. This is to help increase focus, and also to position people on the mat where it's most optimum for whatever pose you're doing next. Round yourself up to standing. With bent knees, walk your hands up the thighs. So you can see in these, it says round yourself up to standing. You could say round up to standing. That's fine too. But let's just say you've been doing a lot of instructions saying the, and then, you want to warm it up a little bit. You don't want to be cold and just, completely distanced. So there's this healthy balance between, getting a little bit more relaxed and personable. And most of the instructions, however, are just very direct. So you just warm it up a little bit here and there. With bent knees, walk the hands up the thighs, or this would be another option. With bent knees, walk your hands up your thighs or the thighs. Toe heel the feet apart. Toe heel the feet together. Toe heel in a couple of times. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, close the pose. Deepen the breath. Deepen the pose. Steady the breath. Harness the breath. Smooth the breath. And you can probably hear there that the breath is something that can be manipulated in a positive way. So that's what we're doing first and foremost. When we're breathing evenly, we are manipulating the breath. That is not the normal way that we breathe. And so your breath also has a lot of qualities, and it has a lot of latitude to work throughout your body. So when you tell someone to deepen the breath, you can put emphasis on the word deepen in a way that starts creating that feeling, and then the action takes place. So your words are incredibly powerful. Deepen the pose, and then something like steady the breath, say it nice and steady. Harness the breath, where you're harnessing, bringing it in, smooth the breath. So you can see how you're creating all of these textures with your voice, and it translates into these actions. And then the body and the mind start connecting through the teacher's words the student receiving the information, and notice again how short they are, because if you say too much, it doesn't connect. It takes too long. You get lost. It would be like if you were supposed to go 4 blocks down, in a straight line, but instead you decided to go around 1 block, take a left, go and like visit your friend in the next town, and then come back and end up at the destination. You're just not going to make the same kind of a connection that you would if it was just straightforward in a straight line and it made perfect sense. Next one is step out wide, narrow your stance, take the feet hip distance or wider, bump the hip around. I love common language when you're giving instructions. So, this essentially means rotate the hip from the back to the front and internally rotate the thigh. Now you're taking a yoga class. Really? You want to hear that? I mean, when you're in an advanced class and we're working super, super deep and really strategically, yes, we're going to get a lot more detailed, but you already have the experience. When you're teaching people level 1, level 2, bump the hip around. People get it. And also you can show it. Wrap the shoulder. That's usually something you actually have to show, but once you show it, then they know this action and this instruction. Windmill the arms. Release, change, coordinate your breaths with your motions, spiral down, take a vinyasa, 2 more breaths, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, for a count of 5, and then you give silence, for a count of 3, palms facing one another. Inhale, lengthen and create space. Exhale, lower down to the floor for cobra, or exhale, lower down through chaturanga to up dog. Step or jump back, step or jump up. Lie on the back, lie on your belly. Use the hands to close the knees together. Rock and roll yourself up. Articulate your spine down. Take a few cleansing breaths in the nose and out the mouth. Turn around and lie down. So those are just, a few actually of the transitions and also support instructions that you can give when you are teaching. And it's important that when you are sequencing, that you can fit these instructions and transitions into your sequence. So you might have like a whole bunch of stuff, and we'll talk a lot about this, but you might have a lot of poses planned. You're very excited about it, and you find you're in something and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to get from this pose into that other one that I had planned next? Like, there's not a smooth transition, in which case it doesn't work. So you can figure out a way. You don't want to be choppy, okay? One of the transitions that I don't enjoy is when you are belly up and you need to be belly down, or you're belly down and you need to be belly up. And so I like to do something, for example, we're in downward facing dog, okay? So we're belly down, but the next pose is going to be a wheel. Well, what are we going to do? I'm going to say, okay, sit down and lie on your back. And you can do that, but it's like really harsh. It's really choppy. And so I like to do a half pigeon. So you do half pigeon on one side, half pigeon on the other side. And then instead of going back into downward facing dog, you just bring your back leg around. So now you can lie on your back and it's like, super smooth and really, really nice. And we will talk a lot more about all the different poses you can use as transition poses. But I just wanted to introduce you to the terminology so that you can start using some of these terms and ways of teaching as we get to teaching a lot more over the next few weeks and months. So that's all I have for you today. I'm going to stop this share and say namaste.